Let's talk about metabolism. It's a word we hear all the time. Usually, it's about losing weight. Someone says they have a fast metabolism, and we nod, thinking of someone who can eat anything and not gain a pound. Someone else complains about a slow metabolism, and we picture a constant, frustrating struggle. But that's just a tiny piece of the picture. Metabolism is much bigger than that. It's the sum of everything your body does to keep you alive. It's the quiet, constant hum of trillions of cells working. It's turning the food you ate for breakfast into energy so you can read this sentence. It's building new muscle after a workout. It's repairing a cut on your finger. It's the grand, intricate chemical dance of life itself. It's about building things up, which, scientists call anabolism, and breaking things down, which they call catabolism. Building and breaking, over and over. That's you. And for most of human history, this process has been a black box. You got the metabolism you were born with. You could influence it a little, maybe by eating less or moving more, but you couldn't fundamentally change the machine itself. It was what it was. But that idea is starting to crack. The question we're starting to ask is no longer just how can I work with my metabolism, but could I re-engineer it? Could we get under the hood and actually tune the engine? Could we rewrite the core operating instructions for how our bodies use energy, build themselves, and age? The idea sounds like science fiction, but it's not entirely. We are right now standing at the very beginning of an era where this is becoming a real possibility. We're starting to understand the levers and switches that control our metabolic health. And we're building tools to pull those levers and flip those switches with more precision than ever before. So, could we do it? Could we actually re-engineer our own metabolism? The short answer is yes. In fact, we already are. And the ways we might do it in the future are both amazing and a little unsettling. First, we have to understand what we're working with. Your metabolism isn't one single thing. It's a network. Think of a city. You have power plants, delivery trucks, construction crews, and waste disposal systems. Your body has the same things, just on a microscopic scale. The power plants are your mitochondria. These are tiny structures inside almost every cell, and their job is to take fuel glucose from carbs, fatty acids from fats, and turn it into a universal energy currency called ATP. The more efficient your mitochondria are, the better your city runs. The delivery trucks and traffic signals are your hormones. Insulin is a big one. When you eat carbs, your blood sugar rises and insulin comes out to tell your cells, hey, there's fuel available. Open up and take it in. It tells your liver and muscles to store some for later. It's a storage hormone. Other hormones, like glucagon or adrenaline, do the opposite. They tell the body to release stored energy. Thyroid hormones act like a master thermostat, setting the overall pace for how quickly your cells burn through fuel. This whole system is a delicate balance of signals. Then you have the blueprints. That's your DNA. Your genes provide the instructions for building all the parts of this metabolic machinery. They dictate how efficiently your mitochondria work, how sensitive your cells are to insulin, and how your body decides whether to store a calorie as fat or burn it for heat. This is why metabolism has a genetic component. Some people are born with blueprints for a more efficient, high-performance engine. Others have blueprints that are a bit more prone to issues, especially in our modern world of constant food and little movement. Our modern world is a key part of the problem we're trying to solve. Our metabolic machinery was designed for a very different environment. It was designed for a world of scarcity, where the next meal was never guaranteed. In that world, a thrifty metabolism that was really good at storing energy as fat was a huge advantage. It helped our ancestors survive famines. But today, in a world of 24/7 food availability and desk jobs, that same thrifty genetic wiring becomes a liability. The system that was designed to save us is now contributing to chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. The engine is running on the wrong kind of fuel and the wrong kind of conditions. So the first level of re-engineering is just learning to work with the system we have, using the levers that have always been available to us. This is the stuff we all know about, but it's worth looking at it through this new lens. It's not just about being healthy, it's about actively manipulating your metabolic state. Take diet. We've spent decades arguing about low fat versus low carb, but if you think about it in terms of metabolic engineering, it's about choosing which fuel you want your body to run on. A high carbohydrate diet keeps your insulin levels high. Your body gets very good at burning sugar. It's a sugar burning machine. When you switch to a very low carbohydrate, high fat diet, a ketogenic diet, you are forcing a fundamental metabolic shift. You're depriving your body of its preferred fuel, glucose. After a few days, it panics a little and then flips a major metabolic switch. The liver starts converting fat into molecules called ketones, and your cells, including your brain cells, learn to run on this new fuel. You have effectively re-engineered your body to become a fat-burning machine. Intermittent fasting is another tool for this. It's not about what you eat, but when you eat. By restricting your eating to a specific window of time, say 8 hours a day, you give your body a long break from processing food. During that fasting period, insulin levels drop significantly. This is a powerful signal. Low insulin tells your body, okay, no new fuel is coming in. It's time to switch from storage mode to burning mode. It starts to tap into its stored glycogen and then its stored body fat. More than that, this gentle stress of fasting seems to trigger cellular cleanup processes, a kind of metabolic housekeeping called autophagy. Your cells start recycling old, damaged parts. You are using timing, not just food, to direct your metabolism. Then there's exercise. This is perhaps the most powerful metabolic tool we have. And again, different types of exercise are like different types of engineering commands. Moderate, steady-state cardio like a long jog is great for improving the efficiency of your mitochondria. You're training them to burn fat for fuel over long periods. You're building a more fuel-efficient, long-distance engine. But then you have something like high-intensity interval training, HIIT, or heavy strength training. This is a totally different signal. You're creating a massive short-term energy crisis in your muscles. You're pushing them to their absolute limit. The muscles scream for energy, and the body responds not just by burning fuel, but by adapting for the future. It starts building more mitochondria to meet future demands. It increases its storage capacity for glucose right inside the muscle. And with strength training, you're doing something even more profound. You're building more muscle tissue. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. Unlike fat, which just sits there, muscle burns calories even when you're at rest. This building muscle is like upgrading your car's engine. A bigger engine burns more fuel just by idling. So every pound of muscle you add permanently increases your resting metabolic rate. You are physically rebuilding your metabolic hardware. Even things like temperature can be used to nudge our metabolism. Exposing your body to cold through cold showers or ice baths can activate a special type of fat called brown adipose tissue, or brown fat. Unlike regular white fat that stores energy, brown fat's job is to burn energy to generate heat. It's packed with mitochondria. It's a metabolic furnace. By intentionally getting cold, you can signal your body to build more of this brown fat, essentially installing a better heating system that runs on your stored fat. So these are the basics: diet, exercise, timing, temperature. Using these tools, we can already perform a kind of soft re-engineering. We can convince our body to switch fuel sources, improve its energy efficiency, and even build better hardware. But it takes constant effort. It's like manually operating a complex machine. The next question is, can we get more direct? Can we go beyond behavior and start making changes to the code itself? This is where modern medicine and science come in. And this is where things get really interesting. We are now developing drugs that can target specific metabolic pathways with incredible precision. Think of these as software patches for our metabolic operating system. One of the oldest and most studied examples is metformin. It's a frontline drug for type 2 diabetes. For decades, we knew it worked, but we weren't entirely sure how. Now we know it acts on a fundamental energy sensor in our cells called AMPT. Think of AMPT as the cell's fuel gauge. When energy is low, AMPT gets activated. It sends out a flurry of signals. Stop storing energy, start burning it, and become more efficient. Metformin essentially tricks the cell into thinking its energy levels are low, activating this AMP key pathway. This makes cells more sensitive to insulin and tells the liver to stop producing so much glucose. It's a direct intervention in the body's energy sensing network. What's fascinating is that because AMP is so fundamental, metformin is now being studied for its potential effects on aging and a range of other age-related diseases. It's not just a diabetes drug, it's a metabolic modulator. Then we have the new class of drugs that everyone is talking about, GLP-1 agonists, with brand names like Ozempic and Wegovy. These are seen as weight loss drugs, but that's a side effect of their deeper metabolic action. They mimic a hormone called GLP-1 that our gut releases after we eat. This hormone does a few things. It tells the pancreas to release insulin, it tells the stomach to empty more slowly so you feel full longer, and it sends a signal to the brain that says, we're full, stop eating. But it's more than just an appetite suppressant. It's directly retuning the way the body handles a meal, it's smoothing out the blood sugar spikes and changing the hormonal conversation around food and satiety. The results can be dramatic, but it highlights our new approach. Instead of just eating less, We're using a drug to change the body's fundamental response to the food we do eat. We are chemically re-engineering the feedback loops that control hunger and blood sugar. And this is just the beginning. Scientists are exploring dozens of other molecular targets. There's a pathway called mTOR, which is a master regulator of cell growth and anabolism. When you eat protein, mTOR gets activated and tells your cells to build and grow. Rapamycin, a drug that inhibits mTOR, has been shown to dramatically extend lifespan in mice and other animals. The theory is that by gently tapping the brakes on this constant grow, grow, grow signal, it encourages the body to switch into more of a conserve and repair mode, similar to what fasting does. We are learning to play the entire metabolic orchestra, not just one instrument. We can target energy sensing with metformin, growth pathways with rapamycin, and hormonal feedback loops with GLP-1 agonists. This is a huge leap forward, but it's still just software. We're using chemicals to change the signals to alter the way the existing hardware runs its programs. The ultimate form of re-engineering would be to change the hardware itself at the most basic level, the level of our DNA. This brings us to gene editing. For a long time, this was pure science fiction. But with the development of technologies like CRISPR, it has become a reality in the lab, and it's slowly making its way toward human therapies. CRISPR is often described as a pair of molecular scissors. It's a system that can be programmed to find a specific sequence of DNA, cut it out, and even replace it with a new piece. It's a find and replace function for the source code of life. The implications for metabolism are staggering. We know of specific genes that have a major impact on how our bodies work. For example, some people have a genetic variation in a gene called PCSK9, which causes them to have naturally low levels of BOD LDL cholesterol their entire lives. They are massively protected from heart attacks. We've already developed drugs that mimic this effect by blocking the PCSK9 protein. But with gene editing, you could, in theory, make that change permanent in a person's DNA. You could give them the blueprint for a lifetime of low cholesterol. We could apply the same logic to other metabolic traits. There are gene variants that increase insulin sensitivity, making people resistant to type 2 diabetes. Now, there are genes that control the differentiation of fat cells, making it easier to store fat safely or harder to accumulate it in the first place. There are genes that regulate the production of brown fat, that metabolic furnace. Can you imagine a future where a one-time genetic therapy could optimize these traits? You could edit the genes in your liver to make it more sensitive to insulin. You could edit the genes in your fat cells to make them more prone to burning energy rather than storing it. Researchers have already done this in animals. They've used CRISPR to cure genetic models of type 2 diabetes in mice. They've engineered mice that are resistant to weight gain, even on a terrible diet, by changing a single gene. The proof of concept is there. The machine can be re-engineered at its most fundamental level. Of course, this is where we have to take a huge step back. The chasm between doing this in a lab mouse and doing it safely in a human being is enormous. Your genome isn't a simple piece of code. It's an impossibly complex, interconnected system that has been fine-tuned by billions of years of evolution. Changing one gene can have unforeseen consequences on 100 other things. These are called off-target effects, where the molecular scissors cut in the wrong place. Or you could get the right cut, but the change could have a different effect in a different tissue, or later in life. Maybe a gene that protects you from diabetes in your 30s increases your risk of cancer in your 70s. We just don't know. The system is too complex. We don't have the complete user manual yet. And this raises profound ethical questions. Who gets to have these treatments? If you could pay for a genetic upgrade to give your child a perfect metabolism, would you? What happens to society when the wealthy can literally buy better health and longer lives for themselves and their children encoded directly into their DNA? We would be creating a biological class divide. It's a future that feels both tempting and dystopian. But let's look even further down the road. If we can master targeting genes and proteins, what's next? What other parts of the metabolic machine could we upgrade? One area of intense research is the mitochondria, our cellular power plants. As we age, our mitochondria become less efficient and more damaged. They produce more metabolic exhaust in the form of free radicals, and they generate less energy. This decline in mitochondrial function is considered one of the hallmarks of aging and a root cause of many age-related diseases. So, what if we could fix them? Some scientists are working on the idea of mitochondrial transplantation. The concept is to take healthy mitochondria from a donor or even from a younger version of yourself, if they could be cultured and stored-board, and inject them into tissues with aging, failing mitochondria. It's like replacing the batteries in an old device. Early stage trials are already exploring this for specific conditions. It's a radical idea, but it targets the very heart of our energy metabolism. Another frontier is synthetic biology. This goes beyond editing what's already there, it's about adding entirely new functions. Could we design and insert new genetic circuits into our cells? For example, could we engineer our cells to produce a specific vitamin or nutrient that we normally have to get from our diet? Could we design a metabolic pathway that allows our bodies to break down a specific toxin or pollutant? Or, even more radically, could we engineer our cells to run on a completely novel fuel source, something not found in nature? This is pushing the boundaries of what it even means to be human. We would be actively designing our own biology, becoming a new kind of organism. And then there's the intersection with nanotechnology. Imagine microscopic robots, nanobots, that could travel through your bloodstream. Their job could be to monitor your metabolism in real time. They could measure your blood sugar, lactate, and ketone levels second by second and transmit that data to your phone. But they could do more than just monitor. They could intervene. A nanobot could be programmed to deliver a dose of insulin directly to a muscle cell at the precise moment it's needed. Or it could be designed to seek out and destroy metabolic waste products, like the amyloid plaques that build up in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. These machines would be a synthetic addition to our metabolism, an artificial immune and endocrine system working alongside our natural one. When you step back and look at this whole arc, it's both exhilarating and terrifying. We started with the simple ancient tools of diet and exercise. We moved on to precise chemical drugs that can flip specific switches. We are now on the cusp of rewriting the genetic source code itself, and in the future we may be able to replace our cellular hardware or even add synthetic components. We have to ask ourselves, what is the goal of all this? Is it just about vanity? Is the end game simply to be able to eat whatever we want and stay thin? For some, maybe. But the real promise is much deeper. It's about tackling the root causes of our most devastating chronic diseases. So much of what kills us in the modern world, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, many cancers classes, is fundamentally linked to metabolic dysfunction. Our bodies are not well adapted to our modern environment, and they are breaking down as a result. Re-engineering our metabolism is really about realigning our ancient biology with our modern reality. It's about fixing the mismatch. The goal is not necessarily to live forever, but to extend our health span. To make it so that our last decades are as healthy and vibrant as our early ones. To prevent the slow decay of function that we currently accept as a normal part of aging. If we can keep our mitochondria healthy, our cells sensitive to insulin, and our inflammatory processes in check, we might not just prevent disease, we might be able to slow down the aging process itself. But we have to be careful. There is a hubris in thinking we can so easily improve on a system that nature has spent billions of years perfecting. Our metabolism is a web of unimaginable complexity. Pull on one thread and you have no idea what will happen on the other side of the web. We might solve one problem only to create a dozen new ones we couldn't have predicted. The history of medicine is filled with miracle cures that turned out to have devastating long-term side effects. There is no magic bullet. Re-engineering our metabolism isn't going to be a single pill or a single gene edit that fixes everything. It's going to be a process of deeper understanding and more precise intervention. For now, the most powerful and safest tools we have are still the ones we've always had: moving our bodies, eating whole foods, getting enough sleep. These are the foundational practices that keep the original machine running as it was designed to. But the new tools are coming. Drugs that fine-tune our hormones, therapies that repair our mitochondria, and eventually, edits that fix our genetic code. The question of whether we can re-engineer our metabolism is already being answered. We can. The much harder question we'll have to face as individuals and as a society is a different one, should we? And if we do, how do we do it wisely, equitably, and without losing sight of what it means to be human in the first place? It's a journey into the very essence of our biology, and we are just taking the first few steps.